Welcome to Twisted Truths. Dive into the dark and mysterious world of true crime with me. From chilling cold cases to shocking criminal investigations, I uncover the twisted truths behind some of the most intriguing and unsettling stories. Each video is crafted to keep you on the edge of your seat, blending thorough research with gripping storytelling. If you're fascinated by the unknown, the unexplained, and the unnerving, you're in the right place. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to join the Twisted Truths community, where curiosity meets the darker side of reality. Let's uncover the truth, one story at a time. Introduction. It was a seemingly normal day in May 2008 when Ursula and Sabina Erikson, twin sisters from Sweden, turned an ordinary stretch of British motorway into the setting of one of the most bizarre true crime cases in modern history. What began as erratic behavior on the M6 highway quickly escalated into chaos, violence, and a seemingly unprovoked murder. Even more chilling? The case remains unsolved, not in the sense of who done it, but in the sense of why it happened at all. This is the story of the Erikson twins, two women whose actions defy logic, medical science, and criminal psychology. The motorway incident on May 16, 2008, Ursula and Sabina Erikson were traveling from Ireland to England under circumstances that have never been fully explained. The two sisters had boarded a ferry from Dublin to Liverpool, and once they arrived, their movements became increasingly erratic. They first went to a police station, claiming Sabina's children were in danger, but there was no evidence to support this claim. From there, they boarded a bus to London, but during the trip, they began acting aggressively toward fellow passengers. When the bus made a stop at a service station on the M6, the driver refused to let them back on, concerned about their behavior. Stranded, the twins began walking along the motorway, a highly dangerous act in itself. But what happened next was even more shocking. Traffic cameras and police dash cams captured the moment officers from Motorway Patrol approached the women to check on them. Everything seemed relatively calm, until, suddenly, both Ursula and Sabina broke free and ran directly into the path of high-speed traffic. Ursula was hit head-on by a massive truck, which crushed her legs. Sabina was struck by a car and thrown several feet into the air, landing hard on the pavement. Most people would be unconscious or seriously incapacitated after such trauma. But not the Erikson twins. To the horror of police and paramedics, Sabina got up almost immediately. Despite her injuries, she began fighting off officers with incredible strength, screaming that they were trying to steal her organs. Ursula, despite both legs being shattered, was still resisting medics and spitting at them. Both women had to be restrained, with Sabina being sedated and taken into custody, while Ursula was rushed to the hospital. A sudden release and a deadly encounter. The next day, May 17th, Sabina Erikson was released from police custody. Now, let's pause for a moment. Think about how strange this is. Just 24 hours earlier, she had been seen throwing herself into traffic and attacking police officers. Yet, with no clear signs of mental illness, no drugs in her system, and no previous criminal history, she was deemed fit to leave. With no phone, no belongings, and no clear plan, Sabina wandered the streets of Stoke-on-Trent. That evening, she encountered Glenn Hollinshead, a 54-year-old former paramedic and kind-hearted man. Seeing her in distress, he and his friend Peter Malloy stopped to help. Sabina was acting strangely, nervous, paranoid, but polite. She asked them for directions to a local bed and breakfast, but had no money. Feeling sorry for her, Glenn offered to let her stay at his house. Sabina gratefully accepted. Once inside, Her behavior became even more unsettling. She would look out the window constantly as if she were being followed. She would suddenly get up and pace the room, only to sit back down and act normal again. At one point, she even offered the men a cigarette, then snatched it out of their mouths, saying it was poisoned. Despite this strange behavior, Glenn wasn't alarmed. He was a former paramedic. He had seen people in distress before. He assumed Sabina was simply having a rough time. That assumption would cost him his life. The murder of Glenn Hollinshead. The next morning, around 7:40 a.m., Glenn stepped outside to ask a neighbor for some tea bags. He was calm, normal. Nothing seemed off. Then, minutes later, he staggered out the front door, clutching his chest, blood pouring from multiple stab wounds. He managed to gasp, "She stabbed me!" before collapsing. As horrified neighbors called emergency services, Sabina Erikson fled. She grabbed a hammer from Glenn's house and ran into the streets. A passing motorist tried to stop her, but she attacked him with a roof tile she had hidden in her pocket. By the time police caught up with her, she had reached a 40-foot bridge. Without hesitation, she jumped, crashing onto the road below. But, like before, she survived. With 2 broken ankles, a fractured skull, and severe internal injuries, she was taken to the hospital, where she once again recovered far quicker than expected. The trial and the endless questions. Sabina was eventually charged with the murder of Glenn Hollinshead. However, psychiatrists ruled that she was suffering from a temporary mental disorder, likely caused by an episode of folie à deux, a rare condition in which 2 closely connected individuals share a delusional state. She pleaded guilty to manslaughter due to diminished responsibility and was sentenced to just 5 years in prison. Meanwhile, Ursula recovered from her injuries and was quietly sent back to Sweden. She has never spoken publicly about the events. To this day, no one fully understands what happened to the Erikson twins. They were not under the influence of drugs. They had no prior history of severe mental illness. They exhibited inhuman strength and resilience. They acted in almost perfect synchronization. Some believe they suffered a rare psychiatric break. Others think there may have been an element of paranoid schizophrenia at play. And then there are those who believe something darker was happening, something we still don't fully understand. Whatever the truth is, it died with Glenn Hollinshead, an innocent man who simply tried to help someone in need. And as for the Erikson twins, Ursula remains a mystery. Sabina was released in 2011, and no one knows where she is today. Final thoughts. This case remains one of the strangest in true crime history. There is no satisfying conclusion, no clear answers, only the lingering question. What exactly happened to Ursula and Sabina Erikson on that fateful day? And, perhaps more chillingly, could it happen again?